Hello, we are live. Steve Sipress here. Success Story, Saturday, December 2nd, 2017, coming to you from the lobby of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in La La Land, LA, California. We're on a lunch break on day 3 of the James Malinchak Big Bunny Speaker Boot Camp. Amazing event. If you run any kind of on-business event of your own, you got to get to a James Malinchak event just to see how it's done. And if you're interested in making money as a speaker, an author, an expert, then you certainly got to get to it and learn how to make money from it. So, doubly learning this weekend. Jared Dog is here, Mike Putnam is here, great seeing you. So Joe Theismann, he spoke last night. Him and James go way back. He's the one that got James into speaking like 20-something years ago. And so Joe comes and speaks at James's events, and afterwards, they had a little cocktail reception for the VIPs. And Joe Theismann took photos with everybody, and once we were done with the photos, he went over and got some of the food. And he's sitting there eating the food at a little, cocktail table, and nobody else is next to him. I'm like, what, is everybody crazy? I mean, I'd spoken to a little, hold up the line while we're taking the photos. I talked to him a little about the Jets, and then I walked away, and then he came after me and said something and whatever. So, I see him over there. I'm like, obviously, I'm going to go over and talk to Joe Theismann. We ended up hanging out for about half an hour, 40 minutes. All kinds of stuff. So first of all, a few things about Joe Theismann. Then I'm going to share a big lesson that I told him that I was going to share today on the video. I'm going to share a huge marketing lesson that changed the trajectory and skyrocketed Joe Theismann's career and changed his life. And it's a controversial strategy. So Joe Theismann, who is... For people who don't know, Joe Theismann was a star athlete in high school in Saddle River, New Jersey, very close to where I went to high school in Fort Lee, New Jersey, so we had that in common. That's about where the commonalities end certainly as far as sports is concerned. They never really began. He starred in every sport. He went to Notre Dame on a scholarship and was a quarterback there, and actually ended up taking that team to set records at the school for passing and touchdowns and whatever, and came close to winning the award for the #1 player, and took him to bowl games and all that kind of stuff. Then he got drafted in the NFL. I believe it was the Miami Dolphins drafted him in the 4th round in 1970, 71 maybe. And they didn't offer him enough money, so he said, see ya. And he went off to the CFL, the Canadian Football League, and he played for 2 years in the Canadian Football League, 3 years actually. One, he was kind of injured during the season, but the other 2, he set records up there and was like an all-star up there in that league. And then the Washington Redskins had enough sense to buy out the rights to negotiate with him from the Miami Dolphins, paid him the money he deserves. He went to play for the Washington Redskins and played for them for the next 12 years and finished out his career there. Played in 2 straight Super Bowls, won one of them, MVP of an All-Pro game, All-Pro Bowl. Was elected later on into the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, all kinds of awards. He was Mr. Big Shot, right? And his career ended famously, for those who remember back then, everyone who saw it remembers where they were. In fact, I should have looked this up, but I think ESPN did a poll a few years ago, and that came out as the #1 remembered moment or injury in all of sports history, or the #1 moment where everyone remembers where they were when they saw it in the history of sports. It was the Monday night game in mid-'80s, where Lawrence Taylor came in, and they were trying to trick play, and Lawrence Taylor came blitzing in, and Harry Carson from the New York Giants came in from the other side and kind of awkwardly hit him, and then Lawrence Taylor's knee, I think it is, landed right onto Joe Theismann's lower leg and split it in half. Broke both the tibia and the fibula. Broke both bones, compound fracture, bones sticking out of his leg and going in the total opposite direction. And as Joe describes it sounded like 2 gunshots went off. The noise was so loud. And when I remember seeing it live, you couldn't really tell what happened. But then they showed the replay from the opposite side. So away from all the cameras they had, I don't know if they still do, and of course the NFL being unwatchable anymore, I don't watch it anymore, but they had the camera on the other side of the field, one camera, and from that view, it was excruciating to see. And I know there's plenty of people I know that will never watch it, never seen it, and will never watch it. Ones that will never watch it again. It's got to be on YouTube or something if you want to, if you're that into that shockingly gory thing. No matter what you think of Joe Theismann or Washington Redskins or football players or anything, like that is just shocking to watch a grown man, I mean, be that vulnerable back in the pocket, and a player lands on him and his leg is, you know, going in one direction, and then from the knee down it's going 45-degree total opposite direction. Just extremely gory to see. Anyway, so let's move on. That ended his career, obviously. He was done. Never played again, and I think his leg, he has one leg shorter than the other, and never grew back properly, and whatever. So I asked him, I said, Joe, up to that point, because he looks at it, and he says, you know what, that was a blessing, because it knocked me down. I was Mr. Big Shot and Mr. Selfish, and that gave me humility. So there's a lesson. He said that taught me that, like, whoa, you know, from then on I needed people. I needed people just to feed me. I needed people to walk, to rehab. Like, suddenly, for the first time in my life, I needed people. I wasn't just Mr. Big Shot, I can do it all. I mean, by the way, when he was a player, he told me this, that it's included in his talk that he did have one punt. The punter got hurt once for the Redskins, and he insisted to the coach, I know how to punt. And the coach, to his dismay, believed him. And he went in and he punted a 1-yard punt. Okay, so he's like 15 yards back. He punted at 16 yards, 1-yard punt. That's his one and only, of course. Now the coach is on to him. 1-yard punt. But he also told me for his first 2 years in the NFL, so he was a star quarterback in college, star quarterback in the Canadian Football League, comes to the Washington Redskins with a big contract. He's playing behind Billy Kilmer, who people go back, way back. Billy Kilmer, star quarterback of the 49ers. He's got to wait his turn while Billy finishes his career. He was returning punts. Are you crazy? Joe Theismann returning punts. I'm like, seriously? Yeah, for the first 2 years. He goes, yeah, they let me do it. I wanted to do it, they let me do it. I go, that wouldn't happen today. You know, today, that's another thing we talked about. The salaries that are out of control for these players, and that's one reason the players do run the league, and no matter what the owners or the commissioner or anyone or the president says, they're going to do what they want and wreck the league. Like, they're going to knock down attendance, they're going to knock down viewership, like, they're making a point and they're doing what they want, and like it's not even great. I don't even think it's so great for their cause, but it's certainly not great for the fans. Like, if fans are what they're losing, the owners, I think they'll be fine. They're billionaires, and the players will be fine because they get $5, $10, $20 million a year. The average is $2 million a year. Everyone's going to be fine, but it's wrecking the game for the fans. Anyway, so we talked about that a lot, and I talked to him about shot a video on it a couple of months ago about you know, it's interesting that in the NFL you can't really hire for culture. Oh, you know, I should say hello to people that are here. Rich is here. I need to send you a dozen baseballs so you can get me some celebrity or athlete autographs. You should. I will get them for you. I meet a lot of celebrities and athletes all the time. Who else is here? Can I scroll here? Rich says, Rich says, how do I do this? Sure, dog, Rich. Now I can't. I don't know what I'm doing, folks. Sorry. Can't read the comments right now. But anyway, thanks for the likes. So where was I? So Joe Theismann, yes. So, I mean, the guy he punted, he even returned kicks. But here he was. So, yeah, that's the lesson. He said, you know, for the first time I was humbled. For the first time I wasn't a big shot anymore. Now I'm just a regular person here. Like, I'm out of the career. And he went on and he became a sportscaster, like a lot of ex-athletes do. And he went on to host a show. He's been in a bunch of movies, TV shows, usually playing himself, though, right? Or playing a football player or a dad of a football player, you know, so not really like, you know, big range of acting. Also, he's done commercials. He's been all over the place as a spokesman, and he became a speaker, and he's been speaking for 35 years and made millions of dollars as a speaker, a motivational, you know, corporate speaker, motivating them. You know, they always want the athletes coming in and they get all excited, rah-rah, and they go sell more stuff or manage better or whatever they do. Well, he also just finished the manuscript for his first book, which I then said it took him 6 years, he told me. Finally finished it. And so that'll be coming out sometime in 2018. And I said, well, you know, the next dozen you do will roll off. I understand the perfectionism. I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and helped them get their books out. And I remember my first book, the perfectionism of that first one. Sure, it took 6 years, understandable. But now you'll realize what was the big deal, and the next will just roll off. And he said, oh, no, I'm not doing any more, just the one. And say he's 68 years old, for crying out loud. So here's a 68-year-old guy with tons of energy, on the go, speaking all over the place, writing his first book at the age of 68, shows no sign of slowing down. Look, we have an audience here. And you know, that's part of the conversation we also had. I said, you know, that reminds me of another entrepreneur who's 70 years old, who now made it to the White House, and that guy works nonstop, right? So you got lots of energy, like 68, 70 is the new 40, right? So anyway. So, also owns a restaurant, Theismann's Restaurant, in Virginia somewhere, near Washington, D.C., I'm guessing. Boyd is here, good seeing you. And so, all around entrepreneur, entertainer, you know, speaker, star athlete, Super Bowl champion quarterback. Come on now. Some more things we have in common, by the way. Joe is now married to his third wife, but his second wife was a law school classmate of mine. Same year, same class. I remember her because she was Miss Connecticut, and she came into our class, and that's what it said in the incoming book where we all put our face shot in and something about us and what we did, and she was like Miss Connecticut from 5 years before or something. But wow, a former Miss Connecticut, and we also had a Miss Massachusetts was in there or something. But like, well, he married her. Didn't go too well. They divorced after 3 years, but what the heck? So he grew up in New Jersey close to me. Then he married a woman that I met before he did, and I knew Jean, and he married her. That didn't work out so well. So, you know, kind of had that in common. It's a common thread, at least, a brush with greatness for me. But anyway, we had a great conversation about the culture, how in businesses, and I did, you know, record a video on this, like I said, how you want to hire for culture. It's the most important thing. You can teach skills. And you almost want to hire not for experience, because experience comes with baggage. And I'd rather teach someone my system and how to do it than bring somebody in that thinks they already know. And if they did, why wouldn't they still be there? So I don't want to bring in the baggage. But culture is the number one thing, and the NFL doesn't do that. They draft players because they're the best, they're the fastest. Oh, he's the best running back on the board. And then Joe went off into detail on the teams that do this over and over. He's like, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. It seems like they just want criminals. Like these guys, they hire this guy, Pac-Man Jones, Vontae's perfect, this guy, that guy. And then he told me that, what's his name? Somebody here might know. Hey, Doc. Dr. Zuck is here. Great seeing you. Josh Gordon, that's his name. Josh Gordon is back playing with the Cleveland Browns. He said he's going to start playing this week. What? That guy's like isn't he like a convicted criminal? I mean, it's just amazing. What they overlook in the NFL are the wife beatings and the criminality and the violence and the gun violence and all this kind of trouble they cause. But, you know, we got to be sensitive to their cause of the social injustice. What is going on there? But anyway. So here's the lesson, and I'll leave it at that. Joe Theismann. Now, when I was growing up, I told him, because he tells the story in his talk on the stage. I remember when he changed his name. Anyone here remember when he changed his name? I don't know how to get out of this viewing all the viewers and get back to viewing the chat. How do you do it? Oh, there it is. Yar says hello. Great seeing you. Great. So if anyone remembers when Joe changed his name, okay? I do. I remember when Joe was Joe Theismann. That was the pronunciation of his name, Joe Theismann. Oh, by the way, he is the son of an entrepreneur, business owner. His father ran a gas station. And I think his uncle, his father's brother, also owned a business. And so you can see, again, I talk about that a lot, entrepreneurs coming from an entrepreneur background. So we as entrepreneurs, those of you that have kids, good news is you got a better chance of infecting them with the desire to be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs, of course, are the cure for everything that ails the world. That's what entrepreneurs do. We solve problems. And so great to see that, business owner, entrepreneur breeds that kind of attitude in people. But anyway, so his name's Joe Theismann. And as he tells it, he's a junior in college. And the publicist for Notre Dame sports comes to him and says, we're changing your name to Theismann. And Joe said, yeah, no, my name is Theismann. It's like, look, here's the deal. Everyone ought to know. If you don't, there's a trophy given out every year in college. I'm pretty sure it's still given out. To who is voted as the #1 best college football player of the year out of thousands and thousands of players. And it's called the Heisman Trophy, named after a guy named Heisman from, I don't know, 100 years ago, whatever. So he said, you know, we're not going to depend on, as Joe tells me, we're not just going to depend on how good a player you are. That's ridiculous. We're also going to have your name rhyme with the name of the trophy so we can market it better. And that's the lesson, is that it's not about, as I always say, it's not about how great you are. That's the ante to get in the game. Of course, to be voted the Heisman Trophy winner, you got to be a great player. That's not enough. You also got to be marketed like crazy. Okay? You also see this in entertainment. The people that win the Oscars and the whatever, if you subscribe to any of the trade magazines that are going around Hollywood leading up to the Oscars, once the announcements are made of the nominations, and while the voting is on, oh, there's full-page ads. You ought to vote for this guy, vote for that guy, and you're invited to a private screening of this, and all the marketing comes out. It's not just about, oh, I'll just, you know, he was a good actor in that role, we'll leave it at that and hope they win. That's what a lot of business owners do. I'm a really good lawyer. Now I hope the phone rings. I expect the phone to ring. You know, I'm the best plumber in town. I expect the phone to ring. Wrong! So this publicist brilliantly said, we're not only going to count on you winning games and throwing touchdowns and leading Notre Dame to victories, we're going to have your name be Theismann. So it gets into the voters' minds. His name is Theismann. Now when we're voting for the Heisman, that just sounds like he ought to win. Unfortunately, he came in second. I don't know if you remember, but in 1971, I think it was, Jim Plunkett from Stanford won the Heisman Trophy. And then I think he got drafted by the Raiders, went on to the Patriots, or maybe to the Patriots, the Raiders, whatever. Came in second, though. Not bad. And so that's the lesson, is it's not just, don't depend on just how well you do something. Okay? Oh, and here's the added part, and I told him about this. I said, Joe, you know, I remember when you changed your name, and we made fun of it. That's how stupid I was. I didn't know anything about marketing. And so when you do brilliant marketing very often, people will make fun of it, and people will try and talk you out of it. People will say things like, that's stupid. Those are all people that don't know anything about marketing. So that was me. When I didn't know anything about marketing, when I was a high school kid and he changed his name, we were like, oh, you know, what a fool, how stupid. We know his name is Theismann. What's with the Theismann? You know, he was in New Jersey. He was all state, and he was famous as Theismann. And we're like, oh, what a fool. What's this ridiculous? He's trying to fool people with the name change. We know his real name. How ridiculous. All the naysaying, when it was actually a brilliant move. And he says, you know, man, that changed my whole life. Because now I expected to compete for the Heisman. We expected to win it. I mean, he came in second, but I was like that. I was going after it. Made me a better player. Made me more focused. Made him more famous. It changed his whole life. I mean, if he would have, you know, stopped playing and then gone on to speaking as Theismann, I'm sure it'd be different than Theismann, rhyming with Heisman. So that's the lesson: is think about marketing, not just relying on how well you do whatever you do in your business. Second of all, expect that when you do brilliant marketing things, like you take any advice on any of these videos that I have been recording every single day since March without missing a day. So we got like 7-8 months of these. A little over 8 months of these. Okay, so that's 250 or so tips I'm giving you. Any one of these you implement, you're likely to get from the people closest to you, from your spouse, from your employees, certainly from your competitors, from anybody. That's stupid. That'll never work. That's retarded. You're a fool. Oh, are you that desperate that you have to change your name to whatever? You know, Joe's Plumbing. And I say, why don't you change it to Guaranteed On-Time Plumbing? And you go, well, but all our stationery and our logo's already made up, and our trucks, and I'm like, yeah, change it all. And people are going to go, don't listen to that bald guy with the glasses. That's retarded. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's not going to cost a penny. It's going to make you money. But of course you won't listen to me. And it'll be easier to not listen to me because you'll have all the people who don't know anything about marketing telling you how stupid that idea is. That's how I was. I remember it. We made fun of him. Oh, he thinks by changing his name, now he's going to be a big show. We made fun of it. I told him that last night, and he just laughed. He said, so did my family, so did everybody. You're not alone. But that smart guy, and I don't remember his name, but the smart kid, that publicist for Notre Dame that came up with that, brilliant. It's the kind of stuff I come up with for my clients. You want to find someone that'll come up with that stuff for you. Very tough to do it yourself. You almost always need fresh eyes from the outside. I have trouble. I can't come up with my own stuff. I have my mentors and my coaches and my consultants helping me with my stuff. Don't think you can do this on your own. It's not like, and which is the other lesson Joe said. He goes, once that injury hit, I realized, whoa, Mr. Big Shot learned to realize there are other people in life. And before that, he just thought the whole team revolved around him. He didn't even think he had a team. It was all Joe. I can return kicks. I can kick. I can throw. I can run. I'm the star of everything. A lot of business people think that too. Okay? That's a way to fail. You're in control, so it must feel good. Hopefully you don't need a big injury like I had. My first multi-million-dollar business, which was a sports business, a fantasy sports game company that I ruined and ran into the ground. And that's where I got my humility. And that's what taught me that I need coaches and consultants and mentors from the outside to help me with doing stuff in my business. And I started learning what to do. Hopefully you don't need to get to that moment with a compound fracture in the leg that ends your career or the bankruptcy that ends your business. Hopefully before that you realize, hey, this is all about a team. I need to get some help here. I'm going to be really good at doing certain things. I need other people that are experts in doing what they do. Okay, so lots of lessons for today on Success Stories Saturday. Any comments here? Pete is here again. Good seeing you. Thank you, everyone that's been here. Dr. Yar and Pete, Rich, Mike. Oh, Jim is here. Hello. And Dog. Great seeing all of you. If there aren't any more comments, questions, concerns, and I see there are not, we'll call it a day. We'll give you a little 360 view here in the lobby of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in LA. I will head back upstairs as lunch break is ending. And I'll be back to check in tomorrow on Getaway Day as the conference ends and I head back home to my beautiful wife Michelle in sunny Arizona. It will be Sunday Funday. I'll be back with you then. Thanks for being here today. Steve Sipress, over and out.